Evelyn to Philip, May 28, 1944. My darling, I didn't write yesterday. I wanted to, but somehow could not find words that did not form a question. Today is exactly 10 days that I haven't received mail, so I won't go any further. I have quite a bit to tell you in the way of news. First, Seymour enlisted in the Navy yesterday, and this time was accepted. He leaves June 10th. Ed left for the Army last year on June 9th. Cy was most anxious to get into the Navy and finally got his wish. My mom is bearing up well, though I believe she is taking it harder than she leads us to suspect. Cy's salary was a big help, and with all bonuses he received, it sometimes ran into the $50 figure. He always turns most of it over to my mom, which enabled her to buy $49.20. I'll say, like you do, perhaps it's all for the best. Secondly, Betty is moving next month. She had all she could stand from this house, and I don't blame her in the least. Adele and I will miss them terribly, but they aren't moving far. In fact, they are just moving down the block to 4942, next door to Taylor. However, they helped me considerably, and we're always here to sort of keep us company, and while we will be able to see them frequently, it will never be as it is now. They got a real lucky break. The house is one of two that has a brick back porch and a full pantry. Remember those two houses further down the block with the backs built out? An old couple want to join their children in New York and are giving them the house for $60 per month. The rent is high, but the house is worth it. It is modernized and has, page 2, been well kept. They are very happy about the whole thing, and I don't blame them. I would be too. Yesterday was a full one for me, and I enjoyed myself thoroughly. I've begun a new practice with Adele. I make her nap before lunch from 11 to 1 so that I may take her up to bed earlier in the evening. Phil, God bless her, she's such an active kid and so strong-minded that she wears me to a frazzle before the day is over. I can't wait till I get her to bed in the evening so that I may relax my weary bones. When I put her to bed yesterday, I took the bus to Germantown to pay a bill from my dad. On my way back, I met Ruth Anapolsky, who gave me quite a bit of news. Hilda's Dave is coming home after 20 months overseas. I wonder if they'll marry now. I promised to stop over later in the afternoon after attending Natalie's birthday party with Adele. Adele awoke at 1, had lunch, and was ready for the party. She wore pink from head to toe and looked very party-like. She had a pink flower in her hair to top off the ensemble, which was strictly feminine. I gave her the gift for Natalie. She marched right up to Natalie and handed it to her, and then became fascinated with the many children attending. She played games with them and even got so interested at times that she sat still to look. When it came time to eat, I tied her in a chair and sat her at the table. She helped herself to a pretzel, had ice cream, Pepsi, and birthday cake after trying to help blow out the candles. Betty invited Goldie and me in for lunch, and it was a delicious repast of salads, pickles, tomatoes, lettuce, and the usual accompanying foods. I was famished and had 3 helpings of most everything, no less. I even surprised myself. I walked over to Ruth's shortly afterward and spent an hour there. Adele was very restless and hissed almost every 5 minutes. That is, she said she wanted to and never did. Then she wet herself. Page 2. Whereupon I got disgusted and took her home. She had her dinner, made a big scene because she didn't want to go to bed, A licking followed, had a bath, and fell asleep immediately after. In the evening, Mom went to the movies with Mrs. Feldman to see A Guy Named Joe. Later, Betty asked me to accompany her, Lou, Sarah, and Petey to a movie. I was fairly tired, and it was raining, and I couldn't decide. In the end, I relented and went to Germantown once more to the Colonial movie to see Broadway Rhythm with Ginny Simms, G. Murphy. It was in Technicolor and was lovely to look at, but that was all. The dancing and singing didn't seem to come up to par. I got back at 12 and hit the sack like a ton of bricks. Adele woke at 5:30 and I had to get up. I made breakfast, cleaned our room, took a walk with her, put her in the playpen till I washed and set my hair, gave her some milk and pie, and put her to bed. I was so exhausted I fell fast asleep 2 seconds after I lay down. I awoke before she did, prepared lunch, and practically ate mine before she awoke. When she finished, Sarah took her for a short walk, and Petey made 2 snaps of her. I dressed in a pair of one-piece shorts and skirt that gave a dress-like appearance of deep pink and zigzag lines of green, royal, and navy blue running through it, that Betty gave me last summer. Flora's mother complimented me on my figure. Imagine! The material of the outfit is very clingy and does show up everything. Even Mom asked me if I were wearing anything underneath to make me look so nice. I always look nice. Don't I, dearest? Page 4. I interrupted this long enough to receive 2 visitors, Hilda Zaslow and Shirley Anapolsky. Hilda is as happy as a lark and expects to be married when he gets back. Jenny is engaged to Dave's younger brother who is stationed nearby. Hilda says she thinks Jen is waiting for her to get married first. I guess they'll both marry in the very near future. Gee, baby, I've got a terrific urge to see you. Guess I'd better sign off now before I go off again. I love you, Phil. I adore you. I could eat you. Sigh. Lovingly, your Ev. Philip to Evelyn, V-mail dated May 28, 1944. My darling, the second mailless day, so I'm reduced to V-mail again, and double-spaced at that. Just finished a real longie to Dottie by way of repayment for her own longie that I received yesterday. Nothing of any importance transpired today, just the regular humdrum routine. I didn't even go to the movies. Lucky Jordan isn't the type of picture I care to see twice. However, I figure I made pretty good use of the last evening in getting off that letter to Dot. Think I'll turn in early tonight. Here of late, I've been plagued by attacks of homesickness. I find they occur when I remain uninterrupted in the evenings. It was just about this time last year that I got to see you a few days each week. I remember thinking then that I would someday look back to those balmy spring evenings when I was so impatient to get to you that I had to curb the impulse to run from Broad Street. I was so happy then, baby, in spite of the anxiety of imminent departure for an overseas destination that spoiled the completeness of my contentment. I knew then that I must make the most of the time I was still to have with you. And I did, didn't we? That last goodbye, although we didn't know it for such at the time, will always be clear in my memory, as will all of these nights. They were so beautiful. But never fear, darling. There will be many, many more such nights, and they will be the more precious for our having had to wait so long for them. They will be infinitely dearer for all the lonely ones we are now in the process of getting through as best we can. One day there will be an end to our loneliness. Da will again be an actuality, the happiest circumstances that I am capable of imagining. Until then, be secure in the everlasting love of your Phil. Philip to Evelyn, 28 May 1944. Sweetheart, to begin with, I must apologize for neglecting to write yesterday. What is worse, I have no justifiable excuse for it. The plain truth is, I just wasn't in a writing mood. Think you can forgive me on such flimsy grounds? If you will, Chippy, I'll make it up to you here and now. What say? Tonight I am CQ again, and I have nothing to do but write, so I mean to take advantage of the opportunity. These past 2 days have been most uneventful, so if I don't say anything about what I've been doing, you will understand why. The marquee of the Thunderbolt Theater tonight reads as follows: Adventures in Iraq, John Loder, a stinkeroo. So I don't feel that I'm missing anything in that direction. It is a beautiful evening. All the doors and windows of the orderly room are wide open to the warm sun and the occasional breeze. The view from here isn't too good, being impeded by a clump of trees and underbrush, but off to the rear, the cultivated fields of the adjoining farms lie green and lazy in the late afternoon sun. The eye follows them to the far horizon, interrupted only by an occasional tree, or by small groups of trees like little islands in a green sea. Wild red poppies grow aimlessly. The vivid daubs of scarlet are startling in the sharpness of the contrast to the preponderance of the all-encompassing green of the fields. One moment, sweet, while I get one for you. They are very fragile, I find, and I don't suppose the petals will hold their original color for long, but I'll see what they look like a little later, and if they haven't wilted too badly, I'll send them along. Your letter of the 16th, 17th arrived yesterday, and that of the 18th today. The former contained the snapshots Faye gave you. I liked both of them. The first, sitting on the steps, for the cheeriness of your smile. The glimpse of one round knee, trust me not to overlook that. The eager curiosity of the pumpkin's expression. She looks like she's about to say something. And last but not least, the welcome view of the houses in the background, which serve to remind me that they are really as attractive as I remembered them. The other picture, of much poorer quality, unfortunately blurs your features, but affords a good idea of your very attractive new sport coat. I like, too, your jaunty yet graceful posture in this one. The pumpkin, if you recall, was very much interested in something across the street, or was she just showing off her dopey hat to the best advantage? Faye looks heavier than I remember her. Her son is looking down, deeply immersed in something directly in front of him. Whoever took this picture evidently didn't give a damn about getting the babies in good poses. The snaps are very much appreciated, honey. And now that summer and nice weather is here, I shall expect to see many, many more of the same. You aren't going to disappoint me, are you? In your letter of the 16th, Chippy, you again see fit to remind me that I committed myself to fatherhood, wife, home, etc., etc. I don't know whether or not you realize how often you have reiterated this very same statement to me, but I do know it's a source of irritation to me that you consider it necessary to do so. Don't you suppose I know what my responsibilities are? I don't, in spite of what you seem to think, chafe under the burden of those responsibilities. Hell, I glory in them, which all makes it annoying as hell, to put it bluntly, to be nagged about it. A word to the wise, Chippy. As for the little discussion you instigated with that remark about the $60 a week, I can't for the life of me see that my opinion on the subject was given any thought whatever. At least you entirely overlooked the issue to offer a new set of opinions of your own, which, while they are plausible and even logical in themselves, don't, by a long sight, tend to approve or disprove anything I said. Either you are incapable of putting your true thoughts on the matter in writing, or you are tactfully trying to conclude our differences on this score. I'm inclined to think it's a little of each. I agree that the sensible thing to do is forget the whole thing until we can talk about it. I have the feeling that we don't completely understand each other's viewpoints on this point, and writing about it only tends to confuse the issue. I feel as you do, sweet, that we will, when the time comes, see eye to eye on this and any other questions that may be a temporary source of controversy between us. After all is said and done, the ultimate truth is we both want the same things of life, and since our hopes aren't built on too high a plane, we have every right to expect that in time we will realize them. Please, baby, try to curb your inclinations to belittle my ambition and my sense of responsibility. You may have every justification for believing so, but it is too soon to say for certain that I am lacking in either. I ask only that you grant me the benefit of the doubt until you have ample justification for so believing. When you imply that I am lacking in these virtues, I am just proud enough to feel the need to defend myself. I dislike intensely being pushed and prodded by anyone, even you, darling, in the direction I should, to anyone's notion, be taken. Be good enough to allow me to judge for myself and to choose for myself the right direction, and trust me to make every effort to attain my goal. And it shall never be as limited as $60 per week, in whichever, page 2, undertaking I may see fit to pursue. I trust I have made myself very plain, sweet, and I promise you that if you respect my feelings in all the respects I have set forth, we will have no further misunderstandings to contend with. Okay? Enough said. I am delighted to read in your letter of the 18th that you are as highly pleased with the Claire Pruitt pictures as I said you would be. I love to say, I told you so. So, I'll say, I told you so. I figure it'll be a month yet before I get to see them, since you have included them in a package, but at least it's something to look forward to. No, darling, I hadn't noticed the cleft in your chin, but I'll be sure to look for it. Your complete understanding of Adele and her various foibles and whimsies, as evidenced in your most entertaining account of her doings, both tickles and amazes me. If she expects to fool you in any respect, she'll soon change her mind when she attains a fuller appreciation of whom she is dealing with. Now, if I were home, well, I'd wise her up. Make her understand that her mommy is not a person either to trifle with or to attempt to delude in any hope of even limited success. One particular sentence here especially intrigues me. Remember how I was curious to know how she displayed jealousy? Well, this time you tell me how she acts when she is shocked, and I begin to understand why everyone thinks she is so cute. But now I'm puzzled again. Just what could there possibly be that could inspire that typically adult emotion in my infant? Or are you guilty of a misnomer and you shocked when amazed or awed would be more appropriately describe what she feels? I never cared for ankle strap shoes if they're what I think they are, but if you like them, then get them, because I won't be around to be annoyed by them anyhow. Aren't they the type that have the strap running from the top and the back of the shoe? If they are, you may be amused by the reason for my prejudice against them. Some years back, I noticed that type of shoe on some very low characters around the town. Since then, the very sight of them reminds me of a harlot. Once, when Jeanette bought a pair, she asked how I liked them. She was very much surprised, to put it mildly, when I told her of my intense dislike for them and the reason. If you'll take the trouble to look, you will find she is wearing them in some of the snapshots we took. You'll probably think I'm very silly and too impressionable, but you wanted my opinion. Well, Chippy, mine, you've had it. I'm waiting to hear the details of the New Yorker's visit. I'm especially interested in Sammy's condition and how he impressed you. Your last paragraph was a killer, baby, and I'm going right to bed and dream about all those divertisements you suggested. Your thoughts on how we could turn the pumpkin's proclivities for interrupting your sleep to our own advantage is most intriguing. What I wouldn't give to give it a try along those lines. Bye now, baby. I adore everything about you, especially the memories. Give my love to the pumpkin. My love to all. Devotedly, your Phil.